Welcome to Cause and Effects ABCs of Disability series, where we highlight the challenges facing the disability community and find solutions to those problems. Our focus this season is autism, and we're excited. We speak with autistics, their parents, a special educator, medical and paramedical professionals, and we share specialized information with our community that is not always available in the public health system. We're leading off with law and disabilities in Trinidad and Tobago. This is an important first step in framing the issue of disabilities and the rights of persons with disabilities in Trinidad and Tobago.
Is a fact, strictly facts, from front or the back.
Today we're chatting with Ria Mohammed-Davidson, an attorney at law who did her undergrad at UWI, continued at the Wooding Law School, and completed her master's in law at Harvard Law School. She has her own practice and is also on the Human Rights Committee of the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago. This committee wants to partner with or be an ally to the local disability community to see how we can get laws passed or amended to further the rights of persons with disabilities. Ria, what current laws exist to support the needs of children and persons with disabilities in Trinidad and Tobago?
I would say that we really don't have holistic disability legislation. In fact, it's one of the things that we probably need if we want to provide for all of the needs of people with disabilities, not just educational or medical, but things like employment and so on. We do have some pieces of legislation that touch on disability issues. So we have the Education Act. It talks about establishing a public education system that has special schools, and those special schools are supposed to provide for the education of people, and I don't want to be offensive, but this is actually what the Act says, for people who are deaf or mute or retarded or handicapped. How about we fix that? We also have the Education Act saying that persons can't be discriminated against from entering a public school, but it doesn't mention disability as a ground of discrimination, which takes us to another piece of legislation called the Equal Opportunity Act. So the Equal Opportunity Act does have disability as a protected characteristic. So it states that you can't be discriminated against on the basis of your disability. And the Equal Opportunity Act applies to not just education, but also employment and the provision of goods and services. I think the difficulty, especially from my dialogue with the disability community, the difficulty with that particular piece of legislation is that it also provides for a defense called unjustifiable hardship, which is a way for somebody to excuse what would otherwise be discriminatory behavior. So the answer to your question is kind of yes and no. We don't have a holistic disability law, but we do have individual pieces of legislation that seemingly touch on disability issues.
Now here's the thing. We have the Education Act saying that persons can't be discriminated against from entering a public school, but it doesn't mention disability as a ground of discrimination. Then we have the Equal Opportunity Act that applies not only to education, but also employment, that says that you can't be discriminated against on the basis of your disability. And in the middle, that particular piece of legislation also provides for a defense called unjustifiable hardship. So there's a gap.
The answer to your question is kind of yes and no. We don't have a holistic disability law, but we do have individual pieces of legislation that seemingly touch on disability issues.
Join us in episode 2 of the ABCs of Disabilities series, The Law and Disabilities in Trinidad and Tobago, when Ria tells us why holistic disability legislation is needed. Until then, keep your light on, mask up, sanitize, and keep your distance.